at least Gustav came and he asked me, hey, do you believe in God? I said, I was direct. I was like, no, I don't believe in a God. I'm gay. Why would I believe in a God that makes me this way and then tells me I'm wrong? It doesn't make sense.
Kind of like determinism.
Honestly, I was like, doesn't make sense. So I don't believe in a God. And then I expected judgment, but what I received was something completely different.
Hello, guys. My name is Michael.
And my name is Michelle.
And we want to welcome you again to another episode of the
M&M Show.
Okay, today is special. We have a visual artist, fine artist, photographer, filmmaker,
Barista.
the
My favorite
extraordinaire, Mr. Stelian.
Hey, man, thank you so much, guys. It's really just a privilege to be here.
Yay.
Honestly, I was just watching you online, and I want to be there. I really want to be there. And I remember I had an interview with you,
Right.
I think 3 years ago.
Yep.
And that was terrible. I was not open enough. I was just like nervous. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
How to say. I was afraid of opening up about even my past.
Yeah.
And a lot of things. So I was like, when I look at it, I'm like, I was a tiny bit of a coward.
That's okay.
But I'm here back to get my revenge.
Oh, you're coming
yeah.
back for a rematch.
Yes,
3
rematch.
years
A
later.
setback is a setup for a...
Come back.
There you
I'm
go.
back.
Come on, that's great.
So
great
we-
to have you.
I'm glad you've come back.
Yes.
So listen, I mean, I remember before we talked about some heavy duty stuff, and
Yep.
if you're watching the show, and I just want to put a disclaimer out there. We will get, even though he's a fine artist, he's an incredible talent. He's very honest and real and direct, and is going to talk about some of those things today. I know before we talked about several things. We talked about the whole principle of attraction doesn't have to
Yes.
be action.
Action, yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes, I think I have my whole background story to talk about it. But yes, this has been like my biggest lesson and a transformative lesson in my whole life. It just changed me, it switched me, and it just literally transformed me. Back in time, I used to identify myself as homosexual.
Yeah.
I realized this when I was about 13
Yeah.
that I have these attractions. When, of course, 13, I was curious and I just like went and I went on the internet and I found pornography and a lot of stuff, and I start looking at those things and realizing that wait a second, I'm just focusing more on the male part rather than female part.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow. I felt like, okay, this is something big.
Yeah.
I knew that this is something big that is gonna come. And then later on, I just realized, oh, this attraction is because I'm a homosexual. Because then the identities and the etiquettes, they were already placed in society.
Yeah.
And then I researched more and I found out, okay, cool, then I'm a homosexual. What am I gonna do with this now?
Wow.
And
So it was very rational.
yes, even though I was like a bit scared, I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But I grew up in a small village where it was quite
In Romania.
yeah, in Romania, exactly,
Yeah.
where it was
Very
quite
conservative.
exactly.
But you said you were influenced. This is interesting. You said before we talked, you said you were influenced by words. So now you got the influence of the words. And then when you went online, you got the influence of the images.
Exactly.
So you talked about the images, but how did words affect you? And how did you get to only viewing kind of men and being attracted to men?
Yeah, there's a concept that I have because I haven't been like sexually abused or I didn't have these kind of like experiences. However, I know that my mom always wanted a girl
One of
from the
3
beginning.
boys, right?
Yes, and then she ended up with 3 boys. And then I remember with every single pregnancy, she was like, "Yeah, I want a girl. I want a girl." She was just like so excited, I was like, "Oh, it's a boy again," And she wanted me to be a girl, as the second child.
Wow.
And then many times she was just like, joking around as a child. She was calling me like, "Oh, my little girl," and things like that. And she was hugging me and things. And then also like, sometimes I was just like taking different towels, putting on my head, saying this like, "Oh, that's my long hair," and they were just laughing and things. My dad was a bit absent because he was always working in a different country, right, to provide for the family. So then I felt a bit neglected by him. He was coming back home, he was loving and things. He was just, I remember he was coming back home and he was giving us money, salary, right? Have you been a good boy? Yeah, cool. And he was giving us salaries,
It's a very
how
transactional kind of.
yes, it hasn't been like that emotional,
Connection.
like connection with my dad. So yeah, I know as I was actually growing older, um, yeah, I had I start having these kind of like feminine gestures, and I care so much of what people say about me.
Mm.
Sometimes even at school, some people were just like making fun of me of like, okay, how can I say? I had different shapes, right?
Yeah.
I was a bit not how can I say
Well, all I can say is I know several of the women in our charity that are very excited about you. So
well yeah, so
yes, we have that. That is a true statement. And so I know the women that are watching are nodding their heads right now because you're quite a changed man. But would you say, and this I'm just been doing this for a
yeah.
bit. You mentioned about the father absence and the lack of connection and intimacy. Do you think maybe there was something with your attraction to men and your absence of intimacy with your dad that made you attracted to men, where you were looking for that intimacy from men that you never got from your dad? Problem is there's a little sin involved with that. Is that something that you would connect?
I believe that. I do believe that because I don't have, as I said, sexual abuse or anything
Yeah.
else in the past, but I had these little things.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of
The
sum
words
up
from mom.
exactly the words, the absence of my dad, not having like necessarily like a male figure, being quite independent as a child as well. Just my parents didn't care so much. I mean, they cared a lot about me, but then I was doing my homeworks by myself and I was doing everything by myself. So I think,
No direction, no identity, no push,
yeah,
no. As you know, you look at the Bible, you look at God gives us our identity. He doesn't just sit us on the earth and go, "Hey, figure it out yourself." No, He says, "I've made you in my image." So we are made, and therein lies how God wanted humans to populate. He says, "I've created males, I've created females."
mm,
And so the universe is balanced when there's an equal amount of those two energies that God has created, male energy and female energy. But that was given by God.
yep,
He is the one who has made male and female. And you it's just listening to you, and even from the last show, you got no male influence. It was all
not really, yeah.
yeah. So
And yeah, I really did not have this. And then when I just realized I have these attractions, I looked, also online and things, and I've just found out also like the homosexual porn and everything. And then I was, oh, this is what I am. This is, what I feel like I am,
Hmm.
and yeah,
Did you
being
decide then at that point, okay, this is who I am. I belong here. You felt like there was a sense of community in a weird way, or at least I'm not, no, I'm not alone.
mm.
Did you ever feel that? And then so you went kind of into it, or was it always just a little bit dabbling? Like was it like half of you still trying to be straight, or was
yeah.
it always, or did you just go, this is who I am, I'm going to go into this full time kind of thing?
No, no, I was always on the gray area.
Mm.
I was always neutral. I've never had the courage to take a stand.
Okay, so it's all
Um,
sort of private,
yeah, it's always like it's been my little secret,
right?
And then even
Wow.
like it's been a moment when like a friend of mine, I think we were 12, and then a friend of mine saw something on my phone that kind of like revealed that this
That you were
yeah,
going down that road.
exactly,
Yeah,
because I think there were like some websites that were open and things. I was like, oh, who's watching this? And then he was like disgusted. I was like, no, it's definitely not me. I think another friend came, and I was just lying. I was just like too afraid of telling people about my attractions, too afraid of telling people that, hey, I'm dealing with this. So then my whole like teenagehood, I would say teenagerhood, I think I was just like pretending. I was hanging out just with, like straight dudes,
Mm-hmm.
pretending, trying to kind of like hide my gestures if they were too feminine or anything else. Like I've always put a mask and went outside.
Mm.
And then this was my little dark secret,
Right, right.
that only kind of like was revealed when I came in the UK, right? When I was 19, I was like, finally, because this is the reason for me coming here. I just wanted to come here in a place where no one knows my name. No one knows me. I can start from zero and I can be who I am.
Okay.
who I thought I was.
Right.
You know, and
But you came here. What was it that shifted? Okay, now these thoughts can become reality. You
Yeah.
can be what you're attracted to.
Yeah.
And you're free, and there's no judgment. There's no words.
Yep.
I can be who I want to be here. What changed? What made you go? Attraction doesn't have to be action.
That's a very good question. So coming and jumping straight in, full on in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In these
'Cause you had the
experiences,
freedom.
yeah,
You had full
because like
freedom
as
now.
soon as I came, I was like, cool,
Yeah.
that's
No one
my
can
life.
see me.
That's my life. No one
Yep.
can see me. I can do whatever I want.
Yep.
And then I had a lot of apps, dating apps,
Mm-hmm.
and then Grinder, right, that everyone knows about, the homosexual app, where I met a lot of strangers, and I start having like these sexual interactions and just really delving deep, exploring, you know, meeting
Giving
like
over to your sinful nature.
yeah.
Completely. Yeah.
I was literally selling my body.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking that this is for me, so I can be fulfilled and happy.
Wow.
But actually, I was literally selling my body.
Enslaved.
Yes, I was enslaved, and I was like
you get
obsessed.
You get paid for sexual favors, or more just when you say I was literally selling my body, you mean more like giving my body for free?
Yes,
Yeah.
more like giving my body for free. But there was one time I prostituted myself.
Mm-hmm. That's
Um,
very common. Yeah, it's very common.
yeah, I never saw it this way until I literally studied the Bible, and then I was like, man, there was prostitution.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember like
Hold on, I'm sorry
yeah.
to interrupt you. You said until I studied the Bible. There's a lot
Yeah.
of people that go, "Hey, I've studied the Bible, I read it, but what was it about the Bible that I mean, just listening right there, it's almost like it was like a roadblock for everything that's happened all the way up to this point. How did the Bible make such? Even as you share it, it's very clear that you go until I, like what was it about the Bible that changed you?
Well, after just doing all of these things that I've done, you know, and just tasting the darkness and just really delving deep in there and almost getting abused or putting myself in danger many times and things, I hit rock bottom. And then I just said, hey, you know, I need help.
Wow.
And I'm open to receiving this help. I never thought of a God because I didn't like God. I didn't like anything because I'm an LGBT community, right?
Right.
So then we don't like God, right?
Right.
In that time.
Especially the culture you grew up in is very the religion is very
Exactly.
very pharisaical, very
Yes.
law based.
Yes.
Dogmatic.
Honestly, I grew up in
Yeah.
a Catholic family. It was just traditions.
Yeah,
My
traditions.
parents were like forcing me to go to church, bringing me back. And I was asking, why are we going to church? And they're like, hey, because we have to. Everyone goes.
Wow.
Right? It was all about people. That's why I cared all about what people say. Right? And people were telling me like, yeah, you're like this. So be like this. You know, in the LGBTQ community, they were telling me, hey, you got to act more feminine. You got to, you know, be yourself. You know, and I was like, okay, cool. So I was like, you know, exploring different stuff that was not me, you know.
Yeah.
And then like as I hit rock bottom, and then I said this, I was like, hey, I was journaling. I remember I said I need help because I was suicidal. I was like, I just wanted to end it. I was like, there's no point in life. It doesn't make sense. I'm depressed. I'm, you know, guilty. I feel like dirty. I feel all of these things. I've done things, and I kept it in
shared with
myself.
yourself.
Yeah, I kept it in myself. No one knew about it.
So
They were
who
just
was
like
it?
my
Was
secret.
it somebody who met you and just like how did it work? Like
No.
who met you and got you
So
to?
you journaled basically a prayer without realizing it. That's
Honestly.
exactly what I did.
Yes.
So I completely relate to you.
Yes, this is
So
what
you're
happened.
like, I need help.
Yes.
It wasn't a prayer, but God heard you.
Yep.
God heard you.
This is what actually happened, honestly, because I wrote this prayer. No, in that
yeah.
time it was
You
just
wrote an
journaling.
affirmation or something. You're like,
And of course, like
crying
the whole
out, the
journal, it was just
universe.
like the whole, yes,
Yeah.
because I was in new
New age.
right? So I was like
Same.
universe, law of attraction,
Yep.
meditation, manifestation, all of these things. And they were working in my life, but they left me so empty.
Totally.
But about that, we'll talk another time.
Yeah.
But what just happened after writing this at the end of like my whole journal, I said, hey, I need help. And I'm open in receiving this help because like I'm in a crucial point in my life. Then after a couple of days, I just received a message out of the blue.
Where? On your phone?
On Instagram.
On Instagram.
Who?
On Instagram. It was,
Gustav, was it?
yes, it was Gustav,
Was it
but
Gustav?
under the Bible Talk page.
Right.
Oh,
So it's like it was good stuff discussions. Good stuff discussion, but it was good stuff, yes. So he
Out
literally,
of the blue.
Out of the
messages
blue.
you on Instagram.
out of the blue, in my lowest point in life.
And what did he say?
Funny enough, he said, hey, I want to invite you to this discussion group. It's all about connection, friendship, we're real and everything. He didn't mention about God or Bible.
Wow.
Because if I would have seen God or Bible, I wouldn't go.
You wouldn't have gone.
I would have not gone.
Wow.
Totally.
So there's a
Right.
sense that
It's-
So
if
God
you are-
knew how to. He's like,
Honestly, it was by God. That's why I'm here. It's by God. It's not by me.
so that's 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago now.
Incredible.
Since I
Step foot in that Bible talk.
exactly.
So there's a strong case to be made that if it would have been quote unquote too religious, you may not be here giving your story today.
True.
So you're proving that as quote unquote those who are Christians, there's got to be an element of relatability
100%.
where you just kind of talk to the person about them and what you do before you get into the religious I'm a Christian type of thing. So that's amazing. And I think what's amazing for me is knowing Gustav's story, that he was a very strong, staunch
True.
atheist.
True.
And I met him, and we met him in Russia.
Sweden.
We were in
Russia, yeah.
no, that was Russia. We were in
Moscow. Mm.
and someone in his family said, "Hey, I have one of my family members here. Can you please just say something?"
His
to him?"
dad.
Yeah, it was his dad.
We
yeah,
had lunch with
that's
him.
right.
Yeah.
And we talked to Gustav, and he was a strong atheist and such. And so for him to change, it was God who changed him. And now to see him, it's like a chain reaction. It's like changed people, changed people.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I agree with that because like as soon as I stepped in their Bible talk, because I was like, I received this invitation and I said, why
Oh, wait,
no?
Bible talk. What do you mean, Bible talk?
Yeah, in that moment it was. So
What is that?
this
What is a
good
Bible
stuff
talk?
discussion
Gustav.
was actually a talk orientated on the Bible,
Okay.
but I didn't know. So I ended up
You thought it
going
was just a
there.
connection.
Honestly,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I ended up
friendship.
there because he was also in my university, right? And then I studied psychology, and then I came very like intellectual, the same as Gustav is,
That's right.
right? So God chose the right person.
Yes.
So I came very intellectual with a book in my hands, right? With like a baker boy hat, Peaky Blinder hat,
Oh my
like a long,
Long
trench
coat.
coat.
The
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
Stelian.
This is how I came actually,
London.
honestly.
Kind of like Sigmund
There was
Freud. Sigmund
funny-
Freud.
Everyone looked at me, they're like, oh, who's this guy? Everyone was intrigued, even guests.
Right.
Even guests was like, oh, who are you?
Yeah.
And things like that. I didn't know they're guests,
Right.
So I end up there, and then we start talking about self-esteem. And I really got intrigued. I was like, oh yeah, self-esteem is this and that. And then at the middle of the discussion, Gustav said, okay, let us see what the Bible says about this.
Oh.
I was like, what? The Bible?
I've been duped. What am I doing here?
I was like, that's a trap.
Really?
That's just a
So
Christian
it's a
meet.
negative. At first, it was a negative reaction.
Like everyone saw my face. Like
You couldn't
members
hide it.
in there after
Yeah.
like even now they're telling me like, yeah, I remember your face when you first came and you found out about the Bible.
Wow.
Everyone's just like, because like literally when I heard about the Bible, I like had a negative connotation because I thought the Bible is condemning,
Totally.
it's toxic, and it's just old fashioned.
Yep.
Right.
2000 years old. Come on. What would?
Oh, yep.
How did it change you?
Yep.
Wow. Well, I'm here.
Yeah.
So from that
But-
negative thought,
Yeah. How did you
when
make
you
that
nearly
jump?
left, you
Well,
stayed.
That jump, I made it firstly by just really accepting studying the Bible.
So you did,
Um,
even though you had a terrible reaction.
Yes, because they like after the discussion was done, these individuals came, and then at least Gustav came and he asked me, "Hey, do you believe in God?" I said, I was direct. I was like, "No, I don't believe in a God. I'm gay. Why would I believe in a God that makes me this way and then tells me I'm wrong? It doesn't make sense."
Kind of like determinism.
Honestly, I was like, doesn't make sense. So I don't believe in a God. And then I expected judgment, but what I received was something completely different.
What'd you receive?
So he asked me, "Oh, really? Tell me more about this. How come you notice you're gay? When did you have the attractions?" Literally was compassion.
Yeah.
And he literally cared about how I got to
You,
this point
yeah.
and about me, yes.
And
And,
you-
I've never experienced that. I was like, "Oh, you're gay? Okay, cool." From those who accept it. "Oh, you're gay? Oh, that's bad," and things like that. But I never had people like, "Oh, tell me more about it."
Okay.
At least from a Christian perspective, that was just judgmental all the time. Hearing people on the streets just preaching, "Oh, you're going to
Go
burn
to
in hell.
Yeah.
You're going to burn in hell if you don't repent. Jesus died for us." Like, who is Jesus? Why did he die for me?
Right.
I never understood these things.
No one took the time.
No.
Yeah, I have a strong conviction that people that are yelling at people on the street corners are not set up by God, but Satan to dissuade people like yourself from even thinking about God.
Yeah.
Those aren't Christians. Jesus didn't come to condemn; He came to save the world. Let me as we wrap this up, we got to have you back.
Yeah.
I could talk to you for 3 days.
Yeah,
we
I have
haven't
a
even.
lot.
We just scratched the surface,
Wow.
and this is the second episode. Tell me. Okay, someone out there right now
Yes.
doesn't love God.
Yes.
He wants to be a man. This show is about men and women. We have some great women on the show. What would you tell them, being so quote unquote hurt by words, subtle things in family that weren't supposed to abuse but did, friends that, what would you tell the person? What would you say to the Stelian that's watching?
Wow. I'll definitely, I think what I would say is really to have the openness to study the Bible. Right? The openness to, not like in a religious way, but to build a relationship with God. Because this is what opened my eyes to see that what I was doing and who I thought I was, it was not real me. There was just like, I just enslaved myself to my attractions and emotions.
Right.
But I was so unstable, and then the way I was before is different than the way I am now. And that's crazy. So definitely giving a try to God.
Keeping an open mind to God.
Yes, because I rejected him all this time and I didn't believe in him. I literally just, I conceptualized it and analyzed all of these things. Studying psychology, I was very analytical and critical and skeptical. Right? So I would definitely say, like, be skeptical at your
skepticism.
Exactly, of your skepticism. The same as Michael says usually many times. Because I thought it's impossible for me to change and for me to be here. So I would tell myself that don't underestimate God's power.
Yeah, come on. I love that.
If you're watching the show.
I love that. Don't underestimate God's power.
Don't underestimate God's power.
Yes.
He's the God of the impossible.
Yes.
Yeah, and giving us, going full on into what we think we want.
Yeah.
Actually is not always the best thing for us. Like, it hurts us. And that's why the Bible is so beautiful. It gives us boundaries. And those boundaries are to protect us and keep us happy. And I think, I see that in your life. I see the power of God in your life. But thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much
for being so
You've
vulnerable.
You've gone from attraction, well, at least you've said to yourself, attraction doesn't have to be action.
Yes.
Keep an open mind to God. Get out of the gray area and be open to God. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing so vulnerably. Yeah. And look forward to seeing how you, as a great artist, produces art, but God, the great artist, produces art in your life.
Amen. Until next time then.
Thank you
so much for having me.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.